Good morning, students. So, yesterday's reading ended at page number 3, right? Now we shall take up page number 4. So, I'm sure you all must be ready. So, yesterday we did, we read up to a particular point where Charlie had reached the third level of Grand Central Station. Let me just have a recapitulation of the story that we have read by now. Ki a person named Charlie, a man named Charlie, is very much perturbed with the day's work, and he wants to head for his home, and he takes the suburban train. He goes to Grand Central Station, reaches the first floor, from where the trains to different parts of USA, means interstate trains leave. He goes down to the second level where suburban train leave. But by chance, his foot falls into a tunnel and he reaches the third level. What he sees there? Let us start reading. Okay? From this particular point. There were brass pittons on the floor. Brass pittons, you know? What sort of brass pittons are there? Brass pittons, you must have seen in old movies rather, people used to spit in a particular pot, right? Almost this sort of thing, right? You must have seen rather, spittins. There it is. Spittins, okay? These spittins are there. Yes, in which people used to spit, and across the station a glint of light caught my eye. What was there? What caught the eye? Glint of light. What? A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. Now, gold watch from the vest pocket. Nowadays they are not prevalent, these sort of watches, but earlier this is the vest pocket and gold watch is there. It was tied to a chain, golden chain. People used to have it in earlier days, but not now. They are not so much prevalent right now, right? So these gold watches were there from his vest pocket. He snapped open the cover. He opened the cover of the watch and glanced at his watch and frowned. There appeared some wrinkles on his face. Frowning. He wore, maybe, he must be, you can say, was worried looking at the time. He wore a derby hat. This is the derby hat. A black 4-button suit with tiny lapels. Do you know lapels? 4-button suit, tiny lapels. These are lapels. This is lapel, rather. Lapel. At the front of the coat, there is a part that are turned over. Let me tell you this part. This part, one this side, one left hand side, one right hand side. So these are called lapels, the tiny lapels, right? And he had a big black handlebar mustache. Handlebar mustache, big mustache. Must have seen in the movies rather, I would say. Mustache. There, Ranveer Singh, big mustache of Ranveer Singh. Such like big mustache, they were prevalent in olden times, but not now. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed just like 1890 something. 1890, people used to wear, the fashion of 1890 was prevalent. I never saw so many beards, sideburns and fancy mustache in my life. All the people, sideburns, just a big bunch of hair just near the ear, right? That is called sideburns. कलम जिसको हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं. I never saw so many beard, sideburns, and fancy mustache in my life. A woman walked, a woman in through the main gate. A woman walked in through the main gate. She wore a dress with leg of a mutton, sleeves and skirts to the top of her high buttoned shoes. This is called sleeve of a mutton. Sleeve of a mutton. This this sort of these sort of sleeves, a very fluffy type of sleeves are there. No? They are called sleeve aprons, and very long shoes. Back of her, out on the tracks, I caught a glimpse. I caught the sight of what? Of a locomotive engine. A very small courier and eaves locomotive with a funnel shaped stack. This is what the train of the time is. Eaves and courier engine, very small engine, funnel shaped. This is the funnel shaped stack chimney that releases smoke. And then I knew what? To make sure, I walked over to a I thought I was at a wrong place, but to make sure, now read further, look into your books. To make sure, I walked over to a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers at his feet. A pile of papers was there, newspapers. It was The World, name of the newspaper, and The World has not been published for years. Suddenly it came to my mind, the printing of this newspaper World had been stopped so many years ago. The lead story, the main story, said something about President Cleveland. At that time, President Cleveland was there. He is Cleveland. I have found that front page since in the public library files, and it was printed June 11, 1894. Oh my God! I had seen this particular newspaper where in library. Once I went to library and I found some old newspapers, I picked that particular newspaper of 1894, dated 11 June, and the same paper was there again before my eyes. Well, you know, my dear, how it happened? I'll tell you. I turned towards the ticket window, knowing that here on the third level at Grand Central, I could buy tickets that would take Lusa and me anywhere in the United States we wanted to go. Means I had enough money in my pocket, and the train would take me to any place in the USA. I knew that. Itna paisa hai mere paas. I can go anywhere. In the year 1894, and I wanted 2 tickets for Galesburg, Illinois. Galesburg, his native place. गाँव होता है ना हमारा, just like that. He remembered those old days of Galesburg. Right? Then, Galesburg. Let us go to Galesburg. This is Galesburg, my dear, of 1894. Wow, what a simple life. Right? Have you ever been there? What sort of life is there? It's wonderful town since still, with big old frame houses, wooden houses, huge lawns and tremendous trees whose branches meet overhead, and the roof the streets. What? So big the trees were there that they joined together at the top of the roof, top of the road of a street, and made the roof over the street. छत बना देते थे, right? And summer vacation, and in 1894 summer evenings were twice as long. How enjoyable life was there. And people sat out on their lawns, men smoking cigars and talking quietly. This life was so much happy. Oh God, how peaceful. You can remember your own life there in your villages. If you have if you get a chance to visit your village, you can still imagine what sort of life people often live there. The women waving palm leaf fans. Palm leaf fans, you know what sort of fans? These sort of palm leaf fans they are called. Ladies generally or people they have in their hands, and they just move their hands and they fan themselves with the fireflies all around. Fireflies, very small insect that lights, that gives lights. Jugnu. In a peaceful world, to be back there with the First World War still 20 years off and World War II over 40 years in the future. I wanted 2 tickets for that. World War One still 20 years off, means it was 1894, and when the First World War was held, that took place in 1914, means gap of 20 years, and World War II 1939, right? World War II just over 40 years in the future. Life was so happy at the time. Come to page number 5. The clerk figured the fare, counted the fare. He glanced at my fancy headband. But he figured the fare. He thought I would be some joker type, and I had enough for 2 coach tickets. Means I had enough money to buy 2 tickets one way. But when I counted out the money and looked up, the clerk was staring at me. He was looking very angrily at me. He nodded at the bills. Nodded, moved his head. Means he thought something was fishy. Something was wrong there. They are not money, mister, he called. Oh, mister, this is not the money, he said. And if you are trying to skin me, you won't get very far. If you are trying to skin me, means if you are trying to ditch me, you are just giving me this fake currency, and you will not go very far. And he glanced at the cash drawer beside him. Of course, the money was old style bills. Old style currency was there. 1894 currency. Half again, as big the money we use nowadays. Means the size of the money was quite half the money that we use today, and the different looking. I turned away and got out fast. Oh my God, I could be caught. Kyun? Why? There is nothing nice about jail even in 1894. 1894 jail was not good also. I feared. I was afraid whether I would be put behind the bars for this. And that was that. I left the same way I came in, I suppose. Now this is the line. This is the thing that troubles everywhere. 2 words, I suppose. The narrator is not confident how he came back. But he says I came back through the same way, I suppose, I think. But generally it did not happen. Next day, during lunch hours, okay, you tell me what would have happened. Kya hua hoga? How would he come back? Sometimes when you are absorbed in deep thoughts and you are sitting somewhere, and then sometimes you realize, something, you are absorbed in a particular thought and you forget all around you. You travel to those places which are not only far distance away, but they are very much off the track. And suddenly someone shakes you up. And you just turn, oh my God, where I am. So you are absorbed in that particular thought, and so he was in the thoughts of the 3rd level. Suddenly someone would have stirred in, and he would have got shaken up.